Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Tuesday, January 24th. Just wanted to do a quick video today. And the topic that I have is tipping culture in the US of A. So I saw a video a few days ago on YouTube from a channel that I follow. It's this girl, her name is Ava Zoo Beck, and it's like a travel channel. She's from Europe, and she has, I believe, it's a Land Rover, like overlanding vehicle, camping vehicle that she lives out of and travels in with her dog. So she just wrapped up a trip that she did going through the U.S. I believe she started in Texas, crossing from over Mexico into Texas at the border there. And she traveled up through the West Coast and then went up into Alaska. So she just did a video, posted a video a few days ago, um, just kind of like a fun video talking about some of the things that she noticed, liked, disliked as a European traveling within the U.S. for 6 months. So one of the one of the things that she had said in the video or had mentioned in the video, something that stood out to her was the um, the whole tipping culture that we have here in the U.S. At restaurants, coffee shops, all sorts of things now, places you go that they present the option that you can tip. It's just a real quick uh, clip that I'll play out of that real quick. Video's not long. It's linked down below if you'd like to watch it yourself. Let me just play that short uh, piece that she had mentioned here. It starts around the 2 minute 30 mark, 2 minute 30 second mark.
Thing on the road, which is kind of sad because, I like walking. Another cultural shock that I encountered was whenever I went to restaurants, what is up with the waiter just literally taking your card and then taking it somewhere? I don't know where they took it. Are they like taking it to steal my data? Are they like, where did they take my card? In Europe, every single time the waiter would come over with the little card reader machine and you would like put in your PIN, right there at your table. In the United States, they take your card away from you. And then there's the tipping culture. In the United States, you go to get a coffee, it costs like $4, $5, whatever. And then you're taking it away, but you're still expected to give a tip. And it's not just any tip, it's like 20%, 25%. Those are like little options that they give you on the little iPad. And if you tap like 10% or 15%, that means you're cheap. And that just makes you feel really terrible, like an awful human being. So you end up tipping 25%. We don't have that in Europe. In some countries in Europe, you don't even tip because I guess waiters are paid an appropriate living wage. So they don't actually need to rely on tips, unlike in the US. In some countries in Europe, you do tip a little bit, like 10% maybe, if the service is really excellent. But in a lot of places, you just wouldn't. So that was a really interesting difference. Not only are the prices in the United States generally higher, but you also have to add that extra for tipping. Also, sales tax.
Okay, so I've noticed like throughout the pandemic that a lot of the places that you go, so it depends on like what type of restaurant you're going to. Like if it's like a fast casual restaurant where like you walk up and order the food and you pay at the counter, um, they'll have like a tipping option. So I've noticed that has gone up throughout the pandemic. Or like she had mentioned in the video, now like at some of these places, the lowest amount option that you can choose is like 15-20%. And then I've also heard people recently saying like the new norm that they consider the new norm as far as tipping at a restaurant. If you have a server and have, somebody bringing you food and drinks to the table is now 25%, not 20%. So, um, In my opinion, I've worked in the restaurant industry, not for a long time. It was only about a year, and it was like a more fine dining, like seafood steakhouse type restaurant. Um, so people work hard in the restaurant industry. Like it's a hard job. It's like a difficult job. It takes a lot of effort to do that type of job. So like people should be paid well, and I agree with what she was saying as far as like I've never traveled throughout Europe, but from what I've heard from other people and what she was saying in this video is apparently how it works over there is people are more paid uh, a competitive wage, a better wage standard, um, and the tipping thing is not so much necessary. And from what I've heard from some people, it's actually kind of like frowned upon when you give somebody a tip. It's like you're like, oh, poor you. Like here, you need this fucking money type thing. So, um, she had said in some places in Europe, like a 10% tip would be like if it was just above and beyond. Um, but in my eyes, and again, it depends on what type of restaurant you go here in the US. Um, and I have not been in the restaurant industry for it's been years. So I don't know how it works currently. But when I worked in a restaurant, I was in a state where um, they would pay you like something stupid like $4 an hour. And uh, if the tips didn't compensate for whatever the minimum wage was, they had to fill that in. But basically, the tips would always, they would compensate for that. So basically, your employer was paying you like $4 an hour, and uh, you're basically living off of tips. So that's one thing I would like to see change here in the U.S. And I do think that it could improve the industry is if you had more of like a European type model where you know, your restaurant, you're paying people a better wage. So I have seen that. I'm kind of like a foodie. So whenever I do eat out, I live in Arizona, so I'll go to more local type places normally. Family owned, like smaller business type places, not chain restaurants. And it seems like those people, um, uh, I don't know how they break down the pay structure, but it seems like they have less turnover, and people seem happier. So I don't know if it's just smaller businesses are kind of doing that more model where they're paying people a better wage and it's not so much based on the tip. Um, but I think that would be something that would be beneficial in this country is to change how that's all structured because I've noticed even just as a customer, um, more and more, it seems like these businesses are expecting the customer to pick up the slack for not paying their employees uh, a good wage. And to me, whenever I notice that, it makes me want to go to that business less. And when I notice businesses, I've gone to some places where now like you'll go up to the counter to check out, you don't have a server or anything like that, and the minimum tip price is like 25%. So it just kind of turns me off whenever I see a business doing that. Um, it's just not only do you want people to pay higher prices for food, but then you also want them to pick up the extra slack on the tip end to pay your employees a decent living wage. So I think there's a lot of work that could be done in the industry to improve the industry. Like I love food. Like I love going out to restaurants. Like I enjoyed working in restaurants, but that was the part that I did not like the most was just the way that some of these companies treat their people that work for them. And again, like the restaurant industry is kind of like a whatever. It's a high turnover type industry and people, they move from company to company and that's just kind of how it is. I kind of get that. But I think uh, these businesses would do a lot better if they maybe operated in a different way or had a different business model. I think that would be interesting. Like if I went to a restaurant and the whole concept of the restaurant was like, there is no tipping here. Like, we charge, this is what it costs. Um, and it is what it is, and you come in and you eat, and that's what it is. Like, I think that would be an interesting thing if a company started to do that. So, um, and again, you see that in some places, like not very many places, but in some places, like I know this is more of just like a fast food type environment, but like a Chipotle, for example, like when you go through their their whatever their process when you go up and get food, they used to have like a little thing at the counter for like cash tips. I don't even know if they have that anymore, but they don't expect a tip. So again, I don't know if they pay a competitive wage in that market, and more competitive than other restaurants in that category. Um, but to me, I kind of like that. So I guess that's kind of all I have to say about that topic today. Again, it's a good video of hers down below. Ava Zubek, I believe, is her how you pronounce her name. But just kind of some interesting points that she had on her perspective of the U.S. as a European. So I'll be back with a new one tomorrow, and that's it. Later, peace.